The answer is no. Trump's travel bans in 2017 did not uh, ruin international tourism to the U.S. in 2017, 2018, according to data from the U.S. government as well as UN tourism. In fact, U.S. travel to the U.S. continued to grow despite the travel bans. If you recall, in 2017, Trump had travel bans he banned entry for citizens from particularly from 6 Muslim majority countries. It was seen as very discriminatory. He had his own reasons or whatever, and he did ban people from entering into the U.S. for 90 days, and I think it kept getting expanded, and he expanded the list, and it disrupted a lot of travel into the U.S. But the surprise is that travel to the U.S. continued, and it did not, as a whole, decline. Those countries, they saw declines absolutely, and they weren't able to come, whether due to visa denials or they just weren't able to, or they were deterred because they felt unwelcomed for whatever reason. They did not arrive. But the truth of the matter is that those 6 countries were not in the U.S. top source markets. So the U.S. had about 85% of all international travel to the U.S. comes from about 20 countries. These are countries from the West, like the U.K., France, Germany, Italy, Spain, as well as other big countries like Brazil, China, Japan, South Korea. So it's about 20 countries that respond for 85%. And those 6 countries that had the ban were not in that list of the US's most vital, most biggest international tourism markets. So what one theory that could have happened as to why the US continued to grow, I think the US had over 77 million international visitors in 2018. That's up from 74 million, I believe. And that is because some markets grew and some markets made up for the decline in those 6 countries. So the U.S. continued to grow despite his policies. At the same time, the U.S. dollar was also pretty weak in 2017, actually, so it made the U.S. less expensive. So people probably took advantage of that from the European Union, the countries. So they came to the U.S. when it was less expensive. A lot of factors at play, but the reality is those bans did decrease travel in those countries, but it did not, as a whole. It got canceled out. The decrease from those countries got canceled out by growth in other markets and other source markets for the United States. And I think the takeaway is just, these travel bans, whatever you feel. I mean, there are definitely reasons as to why you don't want them and why they're not favorable. But looking at the data, you have to look at it. I mean, depending on if you're in the travel industry, obviously you want everyone to come to your country. It's good for business. That's just what it is, right? So that's a business discussion. You obviously want more people to come to the U.S. to travel. Political discussion or moral or whatever, those are different topics. But business-wise, we want people to come to you. But as a whole, U.S. tourism continued to grow despite the actions of what happened by the president. So this is something to keep in mind in the upcoming 2024 election, because we can expect those bans to come back. If Trump does win the U.S. presidency, he will do travel bans, maybe even do more. Who knows? But that is something to keep in mind.